Bomzala Bami. As Americans, we are born with an ocean between us and Africa. Literally, the endless waves of the Atlantic stand between this continent and the one we know as home. However, figuratively, there is an expanse of culture and history that is just as vast, deep, and formidable. I was sleeping, comfortable in the seats of Ethiopia Airlines as I bridged the physical gap, but it is now my personal and professional mission as a Peace Corps volunteer to cross the metaphorical waters and make genuine connections with my host community here in Eswatini. Upon arrival, we began learning the local language, Siswati. And while grinding away at flashcards, my notes, recitations, a question came to mind. Are the different languages that we speak the ocean that stands between us, or the boat that takes us across? And so to answer this question, we begin with a joke.
I go, well, how do you say your name? I swear to God, man. The guy goes, my name is pronounced Bile. He had a click in his name. The guy's name was Bile.
This rudimentary attempt at comedy may be rightly read as problematic. It is also symptomatic of a widespread ignorance that had my classmates mocking and clicking at myself and the other black students. It is the symptom of an ignorance that caused me to doubt that Africans ever really clicked. After all, most of the racist jokes that I heard in school were made up nonsense anyway, so why would clicking be any different? This ignorance is a symptom of something that crossed the ocean in 1492.
So when Columbus got here, he got off the boat and he said to the first people he saw, "Who are you?" And the first people he saw said, "We're human beings." Columbus said, "Oh, Indians." This is a mentality that came, the Columbus mentality, we name it. But then about discovery, this is, it's like almost like this is when the virus got here.
Aish. It's almost as if this ignorance, with all of its symptoms, is a contagion. Hideo Kojima, the legendary video game director, brought the threat of linguistic contagion to life in the 5th installment of the stealth action video game series Metal Gear Solid. Internet media legend Mike Rugnetta summarizes it thusly.
Longtime enemy, a man both with and named Skullface, who commands the CIA covert unit turned renegade paramilitary organization XOF, has developed a bioterrorism plot to kill everyone who speaks English. How would he do this, you may ask? Well, Code Talker, an old Navajo parasitologist, discovered a vocal cord parasite on the remains of a dead sharpshooter, don't ask, which is mutated into 2 strains. One infects people via a specific language and kills them if they speak it, how convenient, and another infects people via a specific language and gives them crazy super fast zombie superpowers, which sometimes require that they wear basically no clothing, how even double convenienter.
Through Skullface, Kojima is expressing frustration with linguistic imperialism, a theoretical construct devised to account for linguistic hierarchy, to address the issues of why some languages come to be used more and others less, what structures and ideologies facilitate such processes, and the role of language professionals. In other words, some languages are important and others are not, and they can be seen as so undesirable that they go extinct. English, our mother tongue, is the lingua franca. Therefore, English is the disease that is killing other languages. Pirawat Punyagupta explains how in a TED Talk.
The Central Thai dialect, which we're all familiar with today, was designated as the lingua franca of this new nation. So, in the north, local lords and kings lost their power, resulting in the decline of the Lanna language and their culture in the north. In the northeast, the various dialects of the Isan language spoken, which was written at the Lao alphabet, it was written with the Laotian alphabet at the time. This alphabet was banned and replaced with the Central Thai alphabet in order to forge a more close connection with the dominant culture. And in the deep south, where citizens are predominantly Muslim, their culture was discouraged as well. As Central Thai spheres and Muslim spheres diverged, what happened was the Arabic script that was used to write many, many languages of the Malay people of the south was also discouraged and replaced with Central Thai as a language of instruction. Now,
In that story, there is nothing about the Thai language that is evil, infectious, or harmful. But the fact that it is the language of politics, power, and wealth suffocated the other languages. This is true of English as well. Except in our North American history, the destruction of linguistic imperialism was magnified by Indian boarding schools. These were institutions wherein kidnapped children of various Native American peoples were forced to learn English, adopt colonized ways of living, and forget their mother tongues. Early Americans wrote about how assimilating their Indian neighbors would somehow heal them. The Indian had been wounded by being ostracized, cheated, and militarily defeated in the name of manifest destiny. So, their solution was obvious: more colonization.
Boy, if you don't
To quote Captain R.H. Pratt, "Kill the Indian in him and save the man." If these kidnapped children were heard speaking one of their languages, they could be beaten, starved, or worse. At the same time, North American enslavers feared the escape, organization, and or revolt of enslaved Africans. The use of African languages catalyzed resistance, so the speaking of these languages was punished with depraved brutality. Even now, in post-colonial Anglophone countries like Jamaica or Eswatini, only English is permitted to be spoken in schools. In America, almost all public schools discourage the use of Black English. Today, linguistic imperialism encourages the abandonment of these languages or dialects, not through violence, but through a hierarchy that was established by the violence of yesterday. But people still speak in Black English, Jamaican patois, Siswati. And hopefully, in our lifetimes, we can begin to heal from this disease of ignorance by encouraging the healthy habits of scholarship. By studying, analyzing, and documenting the complexities of our communication, linguists like Dr. John McWhorter are leveraging the power of the ivory tower to protect marginalized speech, thereby building a solid defense against the viral arguments of primitive and unsophisticated vernacular. Considering all that, the ocean isn't so scary, right? We have maps, modern maps. There we go. Much less scary. And books. We need a modern book, yes. Yes, close call. And even film that can... No. A modern film. No. I said a modern film. There's still blackface. That's 2005? Okay, give me something more recent. There we go. Maps, films, books, etc. With this information, we can understand what it means to cross the gap. While studying at Prairie View A&M University, I took a class on post-colonial Africa taught by Keisha Turner, in which we learned the map, watched the films, and read the books. It was there that my ignorance was treated with the mention of a single name, Xhosa. 2 years later, Black Panther would be released, a film in which the fictional people of Wakanda spoke the very real isiXhosa language. The clicks are real. The corners of my map were filling in. The more I understood about the oceans and the lands that lay beyond them, the less skepticism and fear I held. It's amazing how much our understanding of the world changes how it appears to us. It can even change as we learn new words, new languages to describe it. This is called linguistic relativity. There's a great science fiction film called Arrival, wherein a linguist is sent to the sites where the aliens have arrived to decode their cryptic and cyclical language. In doing so, Dr. Louise Banks, played by Amy Adams, begins to see the world from the aliens' perspective, fundamentally changing the way she experiences reality, essentially giving her the ability to see the future. Her perception of time is expanded as she comes to understand time as cyclical, where the end is the beginning, like a circle, like the alien language. Although this film is science fiction, the ideas behind it are very real. For instance, some languages are written left to right, and others right to left.
So, for example, for English speakers, people who read from left to right time tends to flow from left to right. So earlier things are on the left, later things are on the right. If I give you a bunch of pictures to lay out and say, this is telling you some kind of story, and they're disorganized, when an English speaker organizes those pictures, they'll organize them from left to right. But if I give that same story to a Hebrew or an Arabic speaker, they would organize it from right to left.
That's Lera Boroditsky, a cognitive scientist who has studied languages across the oceans and found that you may not be able to see the future, but studying another language can unlock latent abilities.
I had this wonderful opportunity to work with my colleague Alice Gaby in this community called Pomperau on Cape York. And what's cool about languages like the languages spoken in Pomperau is that they don't use words like left and right, and instead everything is placed in cardinal directions like north, south, east, and west. So the way you say hi in Kuktire, one of the languages spoken here, is to say, which way are you heading? And the answer should be north, northeast in the far distance. And in fact, speakers of languages like this have been shown to orient extremely well, much better than we used to think humans could. But it turns out humans can stay oriented really, really well, provided that their language and culture requires them to keep track of this information.
And if you don't want to be a walking compass, maybe I might interest you in new emotions only accessed through a new cultural linguistic perspective.
Out of nowhere just started howling.
It wasn't Leggett in its fullness, the way an Ilongot would experience it. It couldn't be. There were no tribe members to share it. But he felt this feeling in his body was Leggett, and he finally had English words for it.
High voltage was flowing through my body. That's the feeling. I get it. It's very powerful.
To quote the poet, rapper, and author, Jason Propaganda Petty, words build worlds.
There's a dark side to building a world, too. Take, for example, the doctrine of discovery. The document the Vatican wrote in the 1200s that gave the blessing to European explorers to basically colonize the planet and to bring savages under the rule of the church. It was a medieval version of a hood green light to do whatever you see fit to get a foreign land under control. There are entire tribes of people, whole civilizations, missing from the face of the earth because of this document. If the explorers killed any of them, it wasn't considered a murder because they were savages.
This is why we're so hung up on names, classifications, and pronouns. Are we African American, Black, Afro American? Is your neighbor a he, a she, or a they? We seek to change our language because we understand that we made these words and we can remake them.
I want to challenge you to tell better stories, not only about yourself, but about the people around you, to allow your imagination to wander into areas that you didn't even think were possible, to build a livable world.
We may not have shaped the earth, but we have drawn the maps, labeled the peoples, and added cool decorative sea monsters and boats. All the divisions are made up. And though it may take some studying, it is a matter of when you can bridge the gap, not if. Linguistic determinism is widely understood to be an antiquated misunderstanding of language. This is because it presupposes that the available words in a language form a borderline or a limit to what we can know or understand.
Whack.
For example, a determinist might suppose that Imaswati don't have a complex understanding of love, as there is only a single word, kutsanza, that refers to most forms of liking or loving someone or something. From personal experience, I know that this isn't true. The fact of the matter is that language learning can expand your understanding of reality, but being monolingual doesn't limit it. One of my favorite words in Siswati is gufuna, which means both to want and to seek. It feels so metaphorically resonant to me. If I truly want something, maybe fluency in Siswati, I must also be seeking it. And if I'm not seeking it, then I don't really want it. Language is most certainly the boat, not the ocean. And the journey is certainly difficult. Yet Simbisa, it's worth it. So, only, 3 videos in, and I'm already acting like my favorite YouTubers, not sticking to the upload schedule. So, sorry, life is crazy, but I'm getting the hang of it, okay? I'm 7 months in, and I've done one of the trimesters of school, did a summer camp, okay, did my training. Now I'm getting the hang of it. Will I actually stick to the schedule? Time will tell. But it's all good. Something else I'm supposed to say. Maybe it'll appear on screen. Love you, bye.